Hey, quick one for you. I noticed you missed part 2 of our life force energy training last night. All right, no judgment here. I know life happens, but I'd be doing you a disservice if I let it slide, okay? So, because last night was the night we went into the technical core of this whole system, the real mechanics. So, give me about 10 minutes and let me catch you up on what you missed. And by the end, you'll understand exactly why part 3 is the one session this week you do not sit out. So here we go, fast, all right? So let's start here first, because everything hangs off this one thing, charging or draining. This is the first one rule here. Your space, your home is never neutral. A room never just sits there. Every space you spend time in, working, sleeping, is either charging you or draining you. There's no in between. Most people have no idea which one their home is actually doing to them or for them. So they just feel the result, right? Like feeling tired, stuck, they work super hard all the time, they hustle all the time, and somehow life is not moving in their favor. Now, last night was about learning to tell the difference and then how to read it precisely. That's what we did last night. Now, I asked the question that helped all the students reframe everything for their house or their rooms. This is the question. What if abundance isn't something you attract, but something you allow? Now, we've been taught to chase abundance, right? To chase success, visualize harder, hustle harder, affirm louder, manifest, and hustle, right? We treat abundance like it's this rare fish that you need the right type of bait. You need to cast the line and fight to reel it in. But it was never the fish. It's the ocean. Abundance is already all around you. The problem is most people are standing on the shore and holding a sealed bucket and wondering why life itself feels so empty. So here's what changes everything. And I talked about this yesterday. What if your home is the bucket? If it's sealed and blocked, it doesn't matter how positive in your mindset or heart set is, no matter how positive you are, there's nowhere for abundance to actually flow into your life. No success cannot flow in. So you don't need to attract more. You need to open the lid for success or wealth and abundance to flow in. Now, we talked about this. Chasing is expensive. And if you've been working harder and still feel blocked, that pushing was never the solution. It was the symptom. The symptom of a space in your home that's quietly resisting you. So in part 1, we said willpower is expensive, environment is automatic. Last night, we added its twin. Chasing is expensive, alignment is effortless. Now, an aligned space doesn't make you push harder. It removes what's been blocking you along the way so that abundance that has always been there finally can reach you. Now, I talked about how bad Feng Shui actually affects someone. The idea that people couldn't stop talking about, that is, we call it the invisible tax. See, bad Feng Shui rarely sends you an immediate disaster. It's not something like, oh, suddenly bad thing happens overnight. Most of the time, it sends you just a tax, T-A-X, tax. For example, 5% less confidence when walking into a meeting, or 10% less energy by the time it matters when you have to present on stage or do a very important presentation or meet someone, or you're always one opportunity that you didn't quite reach, or a promotion that went to someone else. It's always these small things. Or maybe that very important conversation that never gets started. Each one feels small and feels ignorable, so you ignore it, right? But you pay it every single day and you never see it leave the account. So here's the thing, right? This is what we call the invisible Feng Shui tax. Now, to make it real, because a tax is easy to wave away, right? But a number is not. So that's why I told everyone, say your goal is to earn 500,000 a year. Right now, you're 200,000 annually, right? So that gap is $300,000. So it isn't a someday problem, right? It's this year's invisible tax. The money, the misalignment is quietly costing you right now. That's that 300,000 because It's something that you can't get. And it compounds. If you don't fix it, and it's going to be 600,000 over 2 years, and over $500,000 over 5 years. $1.5 million gone. No invoice, no alarm, just a sealed bucket quietly leaking year after year in your home. While you told yourself that, one day I'll fix it, one day I'll get it later. See, that's the thing. That is the real cause of bad feng shui. Not bad luck, an invisible tax that you've been paying without ever seeing the bill. Now let's flip that ledger around, right? The hopeful half. So when your space, when your home is aligned, you stop paying that invisible tax and you start collecting a dividend. How does that work? Better timing in your life, more confidence when it counts, clearer thinking, deeper sleep, warmer relationships, doors you didn't see coming open in your favor, and this thing compounds little by little over time. The tax compounds against you, the dividends compounds for you. So we want feng shui dividend to be paying in our favor. The whole game of alignment, which we talked about in part 2, is flipping from one to the other. So what actually decides which area of your home, how is it doing? Here's the fast version, okay? How do we read the space? There are 4 factors that govern everything in feng shui. Your environment, the land, the hills, the water around you, this is the important factor, the form factor. Number 2 is the building. The building is one that holds the chi, the energy together. Number 3 is the people inside. These are your personal lifeguard, who each resonate differently with. And of course, the time factor, because energy rises in one period and fades in another. Notice that what's not on this list? The lucky frogs, the coins, the lucky cats, and all that stuff. I mean, we're talking about the real thing in feng shui, which is these 4 factors. Then I introduced the actual blueprint. The blueprint is about 5 layers. Ground up, core forces, functions, systemic layer, that was last night's focus, targeted approach, and transcendent, which is timing. Now, most people skip straight to the top. Tell me about the timing, tell me about activation. And that's exactly why their feng shui always feel random. The results are always random. So that wasn't the case. We talked about we must focus on the systemic layer, the first layer where it applies to the whole house first. That's why we introduced the core training for last night, which was 8 mansions. Now, here's the heart of the training. The systemic layer has a name. It's called the vibrational sync method. I gave this a name, and it's built on a system that is used for centuries now. It's called 8 mansions feng shui. Now, this is not the traditional approach. This is my version of it, the more practical and functional approach. 8 directions based on you, 8 based on your house, 64 personal combinations. And I made you a promise yesterday. We would never call the sectors good sectors or bad sectors, because the moment you do, you start fearing certain rooms in your home, and the fear itself on its own is bad feng shui. So we call them yang and yin sectors. Each sector has a job, and the order matters. Feel the impact first, then let the chart confirm it, and then the formula validates what's real in that order. It never tells you how to feel, okay? So the 4 yang sectors, it's like the engine room. Creation and wealth sector, your earning power, not just your earning power, not just your wealth, it's about authority, recognition, and your drive to succeed. When this area is blocked, you can work flat out and still struggle to see being seen promoted or go to the next level. And then we talk about the health and well-being sector as the sector that not just govern your health, but your healing capacity and your speed of your healing. Or because it also talks about what feeds you, your mentors, your support, your capacity to heal fast, and the kind of residual income that arrives when the months you rest. That's all under this particular sector. So imagine that this is not aligned and being blocked, and you're there struggling, right? And then there's the social charisma sector, your relationships, your influence, and how the world receives you. That's the social charisma sector. And then there's the identity palace, who you are at core. We already talked about this in part 1, so I expanded this a little bit at the start of our training, how this affects your inner self. So part 1, it was your starting point. And the four yin sectors, the subtler, deeper currents, the adventure palace is movement, travel, and the opportunities that come from beyond your own four walls. The likability palace, we talked about how warmly the world is drawn to you, how attractive you are, or quietly keeps you at a distance. Your spiritual palace is your inner steadiness, your intuition, your sense of meaning, all right, your connection to karma, the center that everything is built on, that's the spiritual the sector. And then the trials and tribulation palace. Now, this is where life's friction lives. Whether obstacles pass through fast or get stuck or compound, this is super important, okay? Now, with all the eight, we're reading one thing. Is chi flowing or is it blocked? Or is it something in that space that quietly is triggering the wrong type of energy, pulling against you instead of supporting you on going in your favor? That's the diagnosis we did. And that's how you finally read your own home like a map. Now, I also added one part of the training which is called sector in facing. And then that tool is very important because every building has a direction it sits in and a direction it faces. And that single orientation decides how energy enters your home and where it settles. Once you get this right, the whole map comes alive. You get it wrong, and even good intentions land in the wrong room. I introduced this concept last night, but how you actually use it to fix your space, I will include more of this in part 3. That's where sitting and facing stops being a concept and it becomes the lever that you actually pull. Now, one more, because it explains so much. Misalignment doesn't hit you with one big mega catastrophe. It hits you with micro resistance. Like the email you didn't send, the call that you keep postponing, the gym time that you overskip, the opportunity that you didn't quite recognize when it was there. Tiny, all day long, compounding. You only notice that everything feels harder than it should. That's not you. That's the feng shui of your room or your house. So here's what I need you to do actually. Complete the assignment. This is very, very important. It's where you calculate your number, the actual gap, your invisible tax, your real cost of inaction, the real cost of your feng shui. Now, don't skip it, guys. The people who feel the shift are the ones who did the work and saw their own figure on the page. You got to see it in one page, okay? And there's a reason to move fast. For everyone who submits, we're giving away a genuine professional level acrylic feng shui compass. The real instrument, full working quality, the kind of a practitioner actually use, all right? So you see that, I put it on the screen right here. And this is a serious, valuable equipment, and we won't hand this out lightly, okay, guys? This is a very valuable equipment. Only three will be chosen by me and the team from people who actually do their homework, okay? So please do this and submit it. The information is in the email and in all the links. So if you want one, or you stand a chance to win, do the work, submit it. But hear me, do the homework anyway, even if you don't win, because that changes your life. The assignment is the key that unlocks part 3, part 4, and part 5. The winners get the compass. Everyone who does it walks into part 3 ready. Now, one more reason to be there live, not on replay. In part 2, I did a bonus segment called Hidden in Plain Sight. So this is where I showed everyone how to read some of the objects or things that they have in the sectors in detail, and it was super fun. So it's done live and it's not recorded because this is a special bonus. I want to encourage you to do the event live because it's a different feeling, all right? So my instructors are there live to answer you. So here's an important part. This bonus is not in the VIP package, right? It's not in the replay because it's a bonus, right? Something extra that I give in a live stream only, right? To people who commit their time and show up to do the work. Right? So now, miss the session and you miss it again. So that will be in part 3. So don't miss it. Okay? So because everything I just recapped, the ocean, the bucket, invisible tags, right? The 8 palaces, sitting, facing, all this was the diagnosis. Part 1 woke you up. Part 2 showed you how to read the rooms. Part 3 is where we're going to open that lead. This is the fix. We take the one room or the few rooms in the house that's been quietly blocking you the most, and I'll show you exactly how you use feng shui to unblock it or unseal it. Okay? So after part 3, you never look at the home the same way again. You've just seen what staying sealed costs and compounds whether you show up or not. So the question isn't whether you can afford the time, it's whether you can afford to keep paying the invisible feng shui tax for one more year. So do your homework, be there live. I'll see you in part 3.